We're still in the car. So what do you have in your hands?
I have the Leica Q.
You look at the camera.
You want me to look at the camera?
Oh no, look at my smartphone.
There you
go. I'm still recording.
Oh, hey Eric, how's it going?
So how long have you had the Leica Q now?
Man alive, 12. You know what? Hey, give me a second here. Let's just see why is someone phoning me? Oh, all right, there you go. I've had it for I picked up yesterday morning from my local Leica rep.
Yeah. So how do you like it?
I really like it.
What do you like about it?
Well, first of all, I think some of the things I like about it is the things that some Leica guys will not like about it. One of it is it's a 28 mil, and I don't have to say equivalent anymore because this is not an APS-C size sensor.
It's a full sensor. It's a full frame sensor.
It's an actual 28 mil lens.
Yeah.
And I come from the Ricoh GR1 film.
You don't have to look at me. Look at the camera down here.
Yeah. I come from the Leica. The Ricoh GR1 film days.
Yeah.
So I'm used to shooting street style photography with 28 mil.
Yeah.
I know 35 and 50 is a more popular focal length,
yeah.
but for me, 28, I'm very comfortable shooting 28. Yeah. So that's the first thing I like about it.
And show us any cool things you discovered about the camera.
Well, like you discovered in Bellevue.
Yeah.
It has this cool. I don't think I'm going to use this that much for macro type photography.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is because this is a 28 mil.
Yeah.
It's not. It is a bit of distortion 28, right?
Yeah.
But I like the fact I imagine Leica incorporating this into their M mount lenses.
Yeah.
Like having a macro, because you're saying your 35 Summicron. What's the closest it can focus?
0.7 meters.
0.7. So imagine being able to go to 0.17 meters.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So I think this is. I'm not sure if they can incorporate this into the lens design, but if they do, I think that's awesome. And the fact that the aperture is in the front instead of way in the back, I think that's a great thing. And then you and I both talked about this focusing tab.
Yeah, on the bottom, yeah.
So it's perfect. I wish that right at 6 o'clock, I wish it was at 6 o'clock, here, I'm in macro mode now. At 6 o'clock, it is at, you know what, actually it's not bad. It's at 2.5 meters. I mean, sorry, 2.5, no, you know what, it's 2.5 feet.
Let's see.
Yeah, so when it's in the middle, it's in the middle.
When I'm focusing, yeah. When it's in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, it's in the middle. It's at 0.7 meters.
Yeah.
Or 2 feet.
Yeah.
For street with the 28 mil, I find that around 1.5 meters.
Yeah.
To 2 meters is pretty good with the 28 mil lens. Maybe with the 35, you can be a little bit further away, right?
Yeah.
But about there. So now you're at about 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
That may be a little bit harder to find, but you'll get used to it.
7 o'clock in terms of the
where the tab is.
Oh, okay.
So at 7 you're at your sweet spot. So f8 at 7 o'clock, shooting street with a 28 mil wide, you'll get a lot of really cool dynamic type pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And how about what else you discovered? Because you've also tested out the autofocusing, right?
Autofocus is fast. First of all, for Leica, I don't think there's a faster focusing Leica out there.
Yeah.
Most of the other Leicas have been famous, like the X Vario and all the other cameras, the Leica T, that I always like focusing Leicas manually anyways, and I do zone focusing, scale focusing. So I didn't really care that the other cameras focus slowly, but I would never depend on it.
Yeah.
This one, you can depend on the AF. It's pretty fast. It uses contrast detect. It has, I haven't tested the
I'm gonna
face
pull up the
detection.
windows is a little bit loud.
Yeah. I might test face detection and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but in general, it's very fast. I compared it against the X100T Fujifilm, and it was definitely, in low light, it was the same speed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I find the Leica was more accurate in low light.
Oh, really?
Than the X100T.
So how else would you compare the Leica Q to the X100T?
Well, because it's rangefinder style, you tend to shoot that way, and the X100T has the aperture and the shutter speed on the top, but it doesn't have, it has a focus ring, but it's focus
the fly-by-wire.
Yeah, it's by wire, and also the distance scales on the screen, where this one is on here. Now it's up here. So again, if you're doing zone focusing, you know right away if you're at f8 and it has a depth of field scale, you know that you're at 6 feet at f8. You're getting between 5 feet and maybe about 8 feet in focus. So as long as you're within 5 to 8 feet, you know you're in focus at f8, right?
Have you had a chance to play around with the menus?
Yeah, menus is
Well, first
of all, there's this custom function button here.
Where's the custom function
Right
button?
there. It's
Oh, that
so
little button
stealth.
right
You
there?
don't see it. It actually.
Yeah, that little thing right there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So you can customize this, but by default, it's the cropping, which I really like because it feels like a rangefinder camera.
Oh, that's cool,
You
yeah.
can see what's entering into the frame.
So
right?
this is the 50 mil frame line right now.
Yeah, we're at the 50 mil, and if you go through the EVF, you can see those lines as well.
Yeah.
Also, this FN is white balance, which again is the smart decision.
Mm-hmm.
And then your ISO button. So you have ISO, white balance, and then cropping.
Okay.
To me, that's what I would have set the function button and this button to anyway.
And you can customize that.
You can customize these anyways into other things. So if you go into the menu mode, most cameras, the menu is there. Leica is always the separate button on the side. If you go to, it's only one large folder, so sometimes you can lose what you're trying to find.
I'm gonna roll up that window too. It's a bit
yeah.
loud.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
Sorry, Cindy. FN button in live view, right? So that's the FN button here. So you have white balance exposure, so you can change that.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Zoom lock button. That's this one here.
Uh-huh.
So you can go to AEL, AFL, which makes sense. That should be where, if you like to use autofocus lock, auto exposure lock, that button should be there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, but for me, I like the digital zoom. And also I was gonna mention, in aperture priority mode, this is exposure compensation.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
so that,
so right
that little
away.
button up here, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's very
I'm
convenient.
not sure if it's customizable. It might be. I haven't checked, but this I would recommend.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I'd recommend. This is one of the nicest feeling. If you
Really
feel
feel
it,
it?
yeah, it's
that feels pretty good.
when Fuji people complained
Yeah,
that
that's
it
nice.
was too loose, that it moved too easily. They just tightened it, like it felt tighter.
Yeah.
This one, it feels loose, but still it won't shift too easily. I thought so it's really well.
Good engineering.
It's very well engineered.
Nice.
So this is a very fast shooting camera. So you got this, everything's where you want it to be, and this cool little concave thumb rest.
Yeah, this little concave thumb rest.
Yeah,
Too,
it's just weird.
it's like kind of comfortable. It's like an inverse thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly.
Just your thumb.
Because of this, you don't need to buy a thumbs up. It frees up your hot shoe for something else
Yeah,
cool, right? So I really like it. And because I was comparing it against the X100T, because I thought, first of all, in terms of what review cameras I had on me, I know people say the RX1 Sony is the closest competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, only in terms of sensor size, I think it's the closest competition because it's full frame.
Yeah.
But I think people get too hung up on the size of the sensor.
Yeah.
It should be, what is your shooting style? So micro four thirds, like the GH4 or the Olympus OMD EM1, the EM5 Mark II. You don't think about sensor size. You think, no, it's a DSLR style shooting and it's good for video. So a lot of people do video tests between the GH4 and the 5D Mark III.
Yeah.
But the GH4 does 4K, right? But nobody cares that the sensor's way smaller. So people are like trying to compare this to the Sony. I don't think this is anything like the Sony.
What do you think is the closest camera you could compare the Leica Q to?
It would be, to me, the X100T, the Fujifilm. Definitely, because it's very photocentric for those that shoot film. So you look down and you can see all your dials.
Yep.
The Sony does not even have a viewfinder. You have to buy an accessory viewfinder. And I think it's in the middle through the hot shoe, right? This thing shoots this way. So if you're used to shooting, especially if you're right eye dominant, I'm jealous of people who are right eye dominant, and you shoot this way, it just feels like you're shooting with the rangefinder. And especially with that focus tab, it just feels like you're shooting a film like it. It feels like an M body. So in a way, I think this competes against Leica M's. It's competing against the M240.
So why would someone buy this and not an M240?
If you are comfortable shooting with 28 mil focal length and you want full frame, I think it's a no-brainer. If you have tons of lenses, you shoot film and digital, it makes sense to get an M240 or any of the M digital bodies because you're just swapping from film to digital back and forth. But if you're not committed to the Leica M mount line, so if you have Voigtlander lenses or you have any of the older legacy lenses, it's great to have the body that you can use them on. But if you don't have legacy lenses and you've always wanted to get into Leica, I say you're getting an M body full frame with a Summilux 28 mil 1.7. This is a steal at, Canadian will be about 5,000, so 4,200 US. In the Leica world, this 4,200 US is a steal for what you're getting. I for sure it's a steal.
I guess so I think it's an amazing camera. It's an engineering marvel. My only concern is it's almost like a smartphone in the sense that I'm actually a huge fan of uninterchangeable lenses that you only have one lens for the camera. But then I think the benefit of X100T is that because it's, relatively affordable,
Yes.
yeah, you could sell it and dump it every year or 2 years or so. But the Leica Q, I'm just like a little bit concerned for people that they'll have it and they'll be really good for like a year or two, but after that it's going to be kind of outdated. So can you realistically see people long term using this camera for, let's say, like 5 years or even 10 years?
Well, I think if you are a gearhead and you're chasing after specs, sure. But the original Fujifilm X100 still sells very well, and you see a lot of people with it. And I just attended a Fujifilm event, and lots of X Pro 1 that uses the older sensor. And so people I think Leica and Fujifilm follow the same model. They want the bodies to last as long as possible with more firmware updates. So if you're not chasing after megapixels, even the speed in which there's more pixels, I think it's slowed down. People realize 50 megapixel, 70 megapixel, super high noise. There's smartphones that have 20 megapixels.
That's crazy, yeah.
Well, this is only 24 as a full frame, but it's low noise. I think the Canon D4S, is it? It's the sports one. It's a full frame. I think it's only 16 megapixels or 12, but it's super fast speed and super low ISO, right? So if you're stuck on megapixels, then you're always, if you have gas, you're always chasing after the best. You'll be bored with this in a year or two. And I think the RX1 Sony is already, I think, almost 2 years old. Still a significant camera, right? So I could see this 4, 5, 6 years for sure. It's full frame.
So who should buy this camera and who shouldn't?
Well, if you have gas, don't buy this, because there's a lot of money for a lens you cannot pull off. And like you said, in 5 years, it will become obsolete if you want the latest and greatest. But if you like shooting film style photography and you like the rangefinder style and you love the Leica ecosystem, but you can't afford to get into it. Before, people thought, the X Vario is my way into Leica, but people weren't happy with the autofocus. It didn't have a built-in viewfinder. There's a lot of things wrong with it. It took great pictures, but the camera itself, sales-wise, it was a bit of a flop. It didn't do as well. And then Leica T came out. Again, people thought, oh, wow, this is another cheaper version of Leica. And I think they need a little bit more firmware updates to develop that. And that's the beauty thing about the Leica T. This one here is an all, everything is inclusive. If you have the money and you want the very best rangefinder style, you want a super sharp lens, and you want to shoot full frame, I don't think there's a lot of competition out there. The next one is the RX1. Doesn't count because it doesn't look as nice. It doesn't have an EVF. And the next one is probably the X100T. Other than that, the Ricoh GR, but even that, it doesn't have a viewfinder as well, right? It's completely different worlds. I think in a way it's almost in a class of its own. Especially with all the specs included. There's nothing like this. So if you can afford it, I would say go for it. Just don't get gas later in a year or two when Sony comes out with a 100 megapixel, the full frame, whatever, ISO 4 million, whatever, right? So
for people who, let's say, they might even get it, what do you think? People who should not get the camera. So people with gas.
If you can't afford it, don't stretch to buy this unless this is your priority in life. Some people will spend $400,000 on a car, but they're renting an apartment in New York. People have different priorities, right? Some people spend $20 on a high-end coffee. Other people, they don't want to spend more than 50 cents on a coffee. But don't go bankrupt buying stuff. But if you have the one hobby in your life and it's photography, you drive a Toyota Corolla, you save your money, your mortgage is paid off, your kids have moved out of the house, and you're like, look, honey, I want to splurge a little bit. I'd rather spend $5,000 less on a car and buy this camera because I think this is what I want to do, then go ahead and get it. I think expensive is a relative term. Expensive watches. I love watches. Some watches go over $1 million. Some watches are $50. So it depends on the person. For what you get within the Leica ecosystem, this is a great deal.
Because another argument could be, why not just get a Leica M9 and just get a cheap Voigtlander lens? It's full frame, right?
Yeah, for sure. You could definitely do that, but you're not going to get autofocus. You're not going to get EVF. You're not going to get a lot of this has the newest engine in here too, right? And you're getting a Summilux. You're getting a 28 mil Summilux. Is there even a Summilux 28 mil that exists? I don't know if Leica even carries one.
Hey, Glenn. you want to check out the Leica Q?
Hey Glenn, how's it going?
Oh,
wait.
one for me.
Yeah. All right. We're still recording. Okay, so as somebody, it's my friend Glenn. Say hi for the camera.
I work at McDonald's.
Okay. So hands-on with the Leica Q. What are your first impressions
Feels
as
good.
somebody who's never used it before?
Feels good. It's solid, not too heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, stand the other way. The light's not so good. Yeah. Because Glenn, you shoot with a Leica M. So how does this compare to that?
Completely different for sure. Nice. Not bad. Solid click. Yeah. Rarely focuses like that, right? Oh.
Wait, is there a touchscreen on this, Taco?
Yeah, it's a touch screen.
It's a touch screen.
How do you do that?
You can actually, well, first of all, in play mode, you can use it to swipe like that. But in shooting mode, you can have it focus where you press, or focus and shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just gotta find that. Probably it's gonna be in one of these menu settings. Photo, JPEG, resolution, video settings, ISO, auto view, power setting, F button, display settings maybe, EVF, auto. No, so it even has a sensitivity of this. You can actually set the so Fuji is one set, right?
Yeah.
This thing lets you set the sensitivity,
that's pretty
auto
cool.
rotate, LCD brightness. So it's not in here. It's not in here. Sorry, it's in here somewhere. Live view. No.
Well, have you tested the high ISO capabilities of this camera?
No, I have not done any of those things yet.
I'm sure it's good.
Yeah, you know what?
It'll be somewhere
The
there.
problem with this is it is all one. There's no folders.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
hard to. Glenn, maybe you could try to find it. But yeah, I've seen other people test it. You just. And I think for street photography,
Yeah.
that's actually great. So you're holding the camera,
Yeah.
and as people come, you can pick what it focuses on.
Yeah.
And not only can you pick it, it actually releases the shutter,
Oh, nice.
right?
If I have it for 2 days, I'll figure out to let you know.
Yeah. Nice. All right.
That's okay, and I'll send you the bill.
Nice.
You
So
should order it.
last thoughts on the Leica Q.
If you can afford it, it's a great deal for what it is. You know, it's like if Lamborghini or Ferrari came out with some unique hatchback that's, you know, like the Porsche Panamera or the Porsche Cayenne, or
Yeah.
any of the, or sorry, like the Boxer, because
Boxer,
the
yeah.
poor man's Porsche.
Yeah.
Well, for the average person, it's still 80, 90 grand, but for
Yep.
Porsche it was cheap. So
Yeah.
within the Leica world,
Yeah.
for what you get, it's a good price. So if you already are a Leica fan and you're buying Leica cameras, this is a great camera for a great price.
Nice.
If not, then if you can't afford it, then you can't afford it. Like a
Yeah.
lot of things in life. I
Well-
wish I had a Jaeger cult watch, but I can't afford one.
Well, there's always ramen and living on your mom's couch.
yes, of course.
All right. So say bye to the camera.
Goodbye, everyone.
Peace out.